I would like to welcome you to our interview based on your experience for the past 3 days during the teacher training school of CLIL NetLE cost action. It's a great pleasure to have you all here, and we are exchanging information, learning from each other. So now my question is, this is the last day of the training school, and I would like to see I would like to reflect back on your experience from yesterday, where you visited the school, where you observed classes, and think about your own context and how were the CDFs incorporated into the classes that you observed. First of all, I would like to introduce yourselves first, and then tell us which classes you observed. And then what are the differences between science and English? Maybe it will come out when we start talking about it. And from an English language perspectives, how is it different from Spain in your own context? And did you see any explicit role of language in the class while the instructors were teaching the subjects that you observed? And how is it similar, again, different from your experience? If you need clarification, please pose the questions to me. So I would like to start from Beatrice. Yeah, Beatrice.
So maybe high school teacher.
Okay.
English teacher.
English teacher. Okay.
So I saw a history class. I observed a history class, brilliant, and a literature class, also brilliant, English. I would say the history teacher used all the CDFs in his performance. He kept asking questions to the students, eliciting, reporting. Reporting was, I suppose, the main one, but there was a lot of evaluating too, and exploring, like, what if Columbus had not arrived to America? Which of these products would we not have? So there was a lot of what ifs. I would say, because the class was so good, I would say that the teacher used every single CDF and tried to elicit them from the students. Some students participated more than others. And in literature class, there was a lot of exploring, a lot of reflection. So the more sophisticated CDFs were used, mostly, explaining, reporting, because it was based on a novel, and a lot of exploring and evaluating.
Okay. I'm Victor Lara from Spain also, and I'm a physics and chemistry teacher. And yesterday I visited two classes, one from maths and the other one from physics. In both of them I see the same problem that maybe we have in Spain, that science we get to explain, to define, to classify, but maybe I miss a little bit of exploring, and of course report have the problem that we have to manipulate things, we have to do an experiment to work with report. The students have to make the report in this case, so maybe I miss these two ones. And of course explore is one important thing in science, but maybe I don't see it as much as I want it, or as much as I expect in the classes. In case of maths class, it was a little bit of a number resolution class, so even the CDFs were a little bit work, even with the numbers. And in the physics class, I see that the teacher asked more questions, so it was better working for the CDFs.
I see. What about language? I mean, did you see any emphasis on language?
Well, what I noticed is that the English level here is far higher than in Spain. So as an English teacher, I felt sort of unnecessary. Then the teachers, there wasn't much meta language or explanation of the language, if that is the question, but it was not necessary. Sometimes the students would ask something in Dutch, and the teacher would answer back in English, so there was a bit of bilingualism going on. but not much. Well, in the literature class, there was a lot of reflection on the language. The teacher provided words, and he said, you can answer in your analysis using all these words, which he projected in a PowerPoint. So there was a lot of linguistic ingredients provided for answering the reflection questions, the exploring, evaluating, and so on.
I see. What about in physics?
Yeah, I feel the same. English was at a very high level, so it wasn't a problem for the students to follow, and also I didn't listen any dots, so in my case was a 100% English class.
I see. What is the situation in your context? I mean, it's, maybe in the science classes, in your classes, for example.
Okay, in my classes I try to do a 100% English class, but we are talking about physics and chemistry, so in certain points the student get lost with the language. There are certain concepts that I have to go in another way, or I have to put more images or videos for them to understand, because they are complex concepts about physics. So in that point, in certain moments, I have to say something different. I try to do it in English, of course, but sometimes I have to translate some word that they doesn't know already, because the language of science is a new one for them, and it's very specific in certain points.
Yeah, thank you. And what about you? So
English, the English level is very different. It is a lot higher here, and what the director of the school told us is that they teach like grammar for a couple of years, and then the English class is full of content, like maybe politics, reflection, philosophy, things like that. So that is quite different.
I see. Anyway, thank you very much for for this actually take. And do you want to say something for the last, just to summarize, maybe what your experience was with this whole, these 3 days?
I was hoping, in my case, that maybe we have more technological things in the class, because we have a lot of materials with tech, in physics and maths, of course. They write in the blackboard, in the digital blackboard, but I was expecting a little bit more with simulation or something like this, because the class that I see about physics, it can be made with maybe simulations or whatever the teachers thought, and it was a little bit theoric, maybe, for my point of view.
Okay. Okay, thank you. We'll take this into consideration in the next. And
For me as an English teacher, well, because we've been working together and I know how to do these like pairs of content and English like we did. We worked together efficiently in this framework, but sometimes it seems like CLIL is presented for the content teacher to incorporate language and do it by themselves, kind of. So I always feel like, hello, the English teachers, what is our role in here? And I feel like that because students tend to think that they already know English, they don't need it because they do physics in English, etc. So they don't think our class is that important. So CLIL helps me fill my class with content. But I always feel like, hello, we're here. And in this incredible school that we visited, really the English teacher was not necessary because it was overcome. That's beyond, the level is higher. So that was interesting. I know how to do this in Spain, but this has been very useful, like reviewing, working with different teachers, hands-on, all the perspectives talk was very interesting also to add to the CDFs, and it's been good for consolidating what we've been working on.
I also thought that maybe the CDFs, for me in my case or in my class, in my field of expertise, can make me be a little bit more concerned about the English class in this case, and also about an evaluation, because it gets hard to evaluate these things in my class. I have to evaluate the curriculum of physics and chemistry, so maybe I don't have time, or I don't know how to do it, but with these CDFs, this is a tool for evaluating their own work in respect of English matters. I believe, and that's I think.
So that's interesting.
Yeah. And what is, as Beatrice said, what's the weight of content and language, for example, from your perspective? Should be actually, from your perspective.
Yeah, of course, physics and chemistry are very important, but if we don't know how to talk about them, we don't know physics and chemistry. So we have to take the perspective of the language, and it's very important to have it in our class. So I really don't thought about this before coming here, but now I was thinking maybe I have to search which are the points that my students have, and which we have to work with them, and also with the English teacher.
Yes.
Well, in my school, the challenges I'm considering, because the level has been lower this year in the external tests, we're considering asking the content teachers to say, well, one point of your exam should be for English. And I was talking to Julia about this, like, how do we do this? Because she said, do not evaluate in terms of correct, incorrect, but appropriate language, for example, spelling mistakes. Say that the technical terms are misspelled, then that lowers your grade. Not other words, but at least the technical, the very important words relevant for the subject. Like finding some items that you would say that overlap English and content, and that you could say, okay, that lowers your grade. Your spelling and certain, I don't know, grammar structures. I have to find it here. That you're saying using the CDFs for assessment, that's something you have to think about. But we're looking in my school for a way of maybe using that as a tool to help students in a disciplinary way to connect English and content, because they tend to ignore the subject of English and go to the point, to the content.
Yeah, thank you very much actually for this very informative evaluation of these 3 days, and hope to collaborate more further, since you have Anna there and then we are here, and I invite you to be part of our working group as well if you like.
Thank you so much.
Because it's about teachers and other stakeholders, and we are going to work on how to understand and interpret this in our context. Like especially, we need English teachers as well as science teachers. So I'll send you information and links if you're interested. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.